Yeah, you tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H2.0. Yeah. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear.
Welcome to the Queendom, H2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must.
This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought.
Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon.
Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
Feel the strain that's on the grid. There's a massive cost explosion where the digital world is hid. See the server stacked up, gleaming row on row. That's the data center hub, making your whole world go. But the AI so hungry, demanding fuel to process. It drains the city power, causing economic distress. The utilities cry out, we gotta fix the whole design. And that new upgrade cost is added right onto your line. Your wallet is getting shocked while the cloud takes the feed. Electricity spiking, that's the digital tragedy. In this time, piracy, hear the battle call. Watch the forces stack the deck and make the whole world fall. From the data rack to the rigged map to the tanker on the tide, they're seizing the resources. Where can the people hide? This ain't conspiracy, this is current fact. We'll pull back the curtain, show you truly dead. Step into the chamber where they draw the crooked art. They disregard the people, ripping democracy apart. It's gerrymandering tactics, slick and cold and low. They steal 1 million votes and watch the opposition go. They grab your voting block and they pack you in tight. You win one district big, but you still lose the fight. Then the others get cracked, split the vote and spread it thin. Your party's a minority before the polling can begin. It kills the competition, breeds the partisan hate. The people lose the power, feeling their own fate. It's power. Getting rough, a chopper on the mash, yeah, the U.S. played it tough, a tanker loaded heavy, yeah. Sanctioned oil on the move. Seas, screams
Another headline, Caracas calls it a theft. 1 million barrels stolen, nothing much is left. It's the Shadow Fleet operation, the game of high seas crime. A direct escalation, running out of time. Who owns the black gold? Who controls the trade in this fight? The global market hangs on every act of might. Yeah, the forces are relentless. The pressure is on. From the grid to the map, from the dusk till the dawn. Tune in right now, don't miss the analysis.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden. I'm back with another video. Per usual, y'all know we gotta get into these politics. There's updates and things coming out every day. So I just come and bring a little bit of what is happening to you guys so you can see if you haven't seen it on any other platforms. And also while doing so, promoting and leading you guys to other platforms that are really great that cover political news very well. So we're going to get into a few things this afternoon. Okay. There's terrible things going on and we know it, right? We know that they're falling apart right now. But as much as they're falling apart, there are people that are fighting back and people in positions that have the power to fight back. And seems like it's kind of like a war going on or something like that. But that's my personal opinion. It's a back and forth for sure. But anyway, we're gonna just connect the dots between the global power struggles that affect your daily life, from your electric bill all the way down to the ballot box. Okay, we are going to get into a few videos tonight, but we are going to begin with hidden engines of the digital age, data centers. These massive hubs of technology are demanding unprecedented amounts of electricity. And the strain on our aging power grids is now leading to rising energy costs being passed on to consumers. That's me, that's you. We're going to show you just how the boom in AI is fueling higher prices and changing the local economy. Then we're also going to get into the political power and the manipulation of democracy, which we've been seeing playing out, We've got eyes, we can see what's going on. So we're going to break down gerrymandering. I think a lot of people may not always understand or know what gerrymandering is. The sophisticated political process of drawing electoral maps to guaranteed outcomes for elections. We're going to be learning and speaking about the cracking in the packing methods that silence voters and increase political polarization and ensure politicians choose their voters, not the other way around. Because within democracy, voters are supposed to choose their politicians. And then finally, on the third thing that we have to cover today that I've seen, y'all, we're going to turn to the global flashpoints and the dramatic escalation of an international tension. The recent U.S. seizure of a massive oil tanker off of the Venezuelan coast, labeled piracy by carcasses. It is a direct, aggressive move in a prolonged economic war. Okay, we analyze this and the actions of this and what it means for the global oil market, the future of the United States, sanctions, and the Maduro regime's grip on power. So we'll be getting into those three things on this live, y'all. Stick with me as we get through them. I have a few videos to show you guys, per usual, or audios to play for you. And so let's just go ahead and dive right into it and see what is going on, not just in the country I live in, which is the United States, but what is happening a little bit worldwide. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this, and I will talk to y'all in a bit.
Donald Trump is not handling things very well after the Indiana State Senate rejected Donald Trump's attempt to gerrymander and rig the maps in Indiana. Donald Trump, though, now claims in an Oval Office press conference that just wrapped up that he never really cared about Indiana gerrymandering. This was never a big deal. He didn't put a lot of priority into it. I'll fact check that in a moment. But watch how pathetic and weak Donald Trump looks after losing his attempt to rig the Indiana map. Here, let's play this clip.
In Indiana, just a few moments ago, the Senate there rejected the congressional maps to redistrict in that state. A number of Republicans voted against that redistricting effort. You have spent a lot of time talking about this. The vice president traveled to Indiana. What's your reaction?
Well, we won every other state. That's the only state. It's funny because I won Indiana all three times by a landslide. And I wasn't working on it very hard. Would have been nice. I think we would have picked up 2 seats if we did that. You had one gentleman, the head of the Senate, I guess, Bray, whatever his name is. I heard he was against it. He'll probably lose his next primary, whatever that is. I hope he does, but because he's done a tremendous disservice. I mean, think of it. It's a great place. I love the people there. They love me. We won in a landslide all 3 times. Got tremendous votes. Record. I got record votes. And then there's no reason for doing that. And the Democrats do it to us. So I can't imagine that they do it. But I wasn't very much involved. But there's a man named Bray as I guess, head of the Senate. Was that Bray? Is that the name? Bray? I mean, I'm sure that whenever his primary is, it's, I think, in 2 years, but I'm sure he'll go down. He'll go down. I'll certainly support anybody that wants to go against him.
Now, let me come with receipts as we always do here on the Midas Touch Network. And a reminder, hit subscribe and help us get to 6 million subscribers. You may think you're subscribed to this channel, but just double check. You know we're under attack from the Trump regime. They want to shut this YouTube channel down. So make sure you hit subscribe right now. I've counted, I don't know, nearly half a dozen posts that Donald Trump has made on social media threatening Indiana lawmakers if they didn't adopt the map, and they rejected it. Donald Trump posted back on November 18th, I'm working with Governor Mike Braun and other Indiana Republicans on picking up 2 Republican congressional seats. The governor, a good man, must produce on this, or he will be the only governor, Republican or Democrat, who didn't. And he goes and blabbers on more there. Or November 17th, 2025, I will strongly be endorsing against any state senator or House member from the great state of Indiana that votes against the Republican Party and our nation by not allowing for redistricting for congressional seats in the United States House of Representatives. Here's another one from the same day. In the entire United States of America, Republican or Democrat, only Indiana Republican State Senator Rod Bray, a complete and total rhino, is opposed to redistricting for purposes of gaining additional seats in Congress. Or this one, very disappointed in Indiana State Senate Republicans led by rhino Senators Rod Bray and Greg Good for not wanting to redistrict their state, allowing the United States Congress to perhaps gain 2 more Republican seats. And then, of course, after the Indiana State House voted for the rigged maps before it went to the Senate, Donald Trump posted, congratulations to Indiana's tremendous Republican state representatives, led by its great speaker, Todd Houston, and others. Then it goes on to say, it was my honor to win Indiana 6 times. The Indiana Senate must now pass this map, as is. and get it to Governor Mike Braun's desk ASAP to deliver a gigantic victory for Republicans in the Hoosier state and across the country. I'm hearing that these 9 senators, some who are up for re-election and some in 2028, need encouragement to make the right decision. So you see what he's saying there. Then the Heritage Foundation, which has their own political action group, says that if they didn't adopt, it's an arm of the Trump regime, they're the ones who drafted Project 2025. Before the vote, they said if the Indiana State Senate does not adopt Donald Trump's gerrymandered maps, then Donald Trump, they said, will not give any federal funding to Indiana. Their roads won't get paved, their bridges won't get fixed, they won't get disaster relief. This is what Trump and Heritage Foundation was pushing. Donald Trump also sent J.D. Vance to go to Indiana. You had Don Jr. making posts about threats to Indiana. Donald Trump was all in on the threat over and over and over again. And then you had these Trump MAGA state senators who were pushing this. They were out there screaming today. Like, look at this state senator Garden. He's a MAGA guy. Here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
Some will say these maps are political.
All right, guys, this is U.S. Senator John Ossoff in Georgia, and please just hear me out because I am the only Democratic U.S. Senator up for re-election in a state that Donald Trump won. And that makes me...
Let me be clear. You're damn right they are. Political policy is political.
And ultimately, the map was rejected 31-19. Trump's gerrymander rejected, wasn't even close. The MAGA Republicans faction in the Indiana Senate lost, and the Republicans there stood up to Donald Trump. So then here's a MAGA Congress member, by the way, Marlin Stutzman, MAGA Republican Congress member, okay, from Indiana, okay, and he is asked by Jake Tapper, so do you support not funding your state, not paving the roads because your state did not agree to Trump's gerrymander? And he basically says, yeah, dude, you are the Congress member from Indiana, and you're saying that your state should be defunded for not rigging the maps for Donald Trump? This is how delusional these people are. Here, play this clip.
To me, this is a team vote. This is one of those where it's like, you know what? This is the Republican Party. We're sticking together. And, you know, the Democrat Party, they're doing the same thing in their states. I think it's unfortunate overall that this is even part of the conversation that we're having to have, and that policy decisions are being made over the redistricting efforts. But there should be some sort of national standard, but there's not. And that's why I'm really disappointed. I think it was a terrible decision.
So do you think, as Heritage Action suggested should happen now, that all federal funding should be cut from Indiana? Do you think that you should not have money to pave the roads in Indiana? You shouldn't have money to fund the guard bases in Indiana? Because that is what the administration was suggesting. Presumably you now support that.
We have a lot of projects that we've been working on in Indiana. And look, we know that, you know, just like in business, you work with people who work with you. And, you know, President Trump asked for this. Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, he put a ton of time making phone calls. There was pushing, pulling, you know, and some of the excuses, there was no good excuse that I heard other than this just breaks precedent, or the president was being a bully about it. This is politics. I mean, this is hardball, and we're playing softball. And so my belief is that, you know what, he's going to look at Indiana and say, look, we want to work together, but I need your help. And the state Senate failed to help today.
Then you had the Indiana.
All right, y'all. So y'all know, per usual, how I do. I got to chime in, get my little talking points. I'm just asking a question, okay? If you're a representative for your state that you live in, does not care if your state doesn't get funded for things that they need, that is beneficial to the people who live within that state and the cities within that state, because they want to rock and roll so hard with Trump and the Trump regime and administration. Doesn't that kind of seem like your representative doesn't care about you or the people? Is it wrong for me to ask these questions when we think logically and we ask things, you know, that are legitimate questions to be asked? I don't know what type of representative is going to side against their own state that they represent. and the benefits of that state and those people. That's crazy work to me. And so that's basically what we heard there. I don't know. Maybe I need to run it back and play it again. If people can hear exactly what is being said by this representative, do you think this representative is going to be somebody that the people really want to be in position or will vote for again? Because it's the people who have to suffer from these choices and these things that these people want to do. These things, as far as them taking money out of the states for pertinent organizations, groups, maybe even schools, hospitals, medical care, all of those things. You want to take funding away from the state because you didn't get your way. You're having a temper tantrum. And people, the citizens, are the ones who have to pay the price. However, the people are actually the ones who paid most of the money into these things that y'all want to do and get off the ground. As far as taxpayer dollars, that comes from the people. It comes out of their checks each and every week, bi-weekly, month, however they get paid. The people money, y'all snatching up the people money, and you don't want to do anything that's going to help support the people and give back to the community and the people within these states and these cities. And you, as the person who's supposed to be representing this state, you don't see no problem with any of this, because you so far with your head and your nose up Trump's, you know what? You can't make this stuff up, people. I'm telling you, this is how these people are. This is how they do. This is how they move. This is how they operate. This is something real different. Like I don't know what to say about it. I don't know if anybody else is watching it. I don't know if anybody else is paying attention to it. But the nasty work that really is happening within our government and political sector right now, you can't make it up. Let's keep going. There's worse.
Lieutenant governor, and he like lost his mind over this. Here, play this clip.
Do you want them primaried?
Yeah, I think we need to start going down that path. Listen, I've been, talking to people all over Indiana for years. I've been in the political world. I've been a delegate myself since 2016 at the conventions, the grassroots. I know that world well. And for years, the Senate has been known as the place where conservative bills from the Indiana House go to die. And so this isn't the first time that we've seen a weak Senate. This isn't the first time that we've seen something like this happen, where conservatives are shaking their heads saying, what is happening to the Senate? Now it's just on national display. And so we welcome that. We welcome Donald Trump Jr. to come in, and we're going to find some really good America First candidates to run in this next primary season.
Hey, Brett here. Allow me to interrupt.
Wow, that's sad work. So he basically saying that it's always been this way. And speaking on, Indiana. I can't speak for Indiana. I don't live there. But this is the governor. And he's saying it's always been like this. They always get the short end of the stick. The political works are always the same when it comes to that state. And it's just like, for me, I don't understand. Why do people keep voting in their worst interests? Like, if things have always been this way, it's been consistently rough when y'all vote the parties that y'all vote for, or whatever the heck values or whatever you think you're voting towards, always seem to end up to not benefit you, your state, your cities, or your people. Why do you keep voting that way? Why do you keep asking and inviting that back into your life? Is it because you're loyal? All right. There's a lot of people, and I understand when they vote, when it comes to politics and stuff like that, it's a lot of people like they're loyal. They will just continue to vote and vote and vote because that's what they were supposed to do. That's what grandma did. That's what grandpa voted for. That's the party that we always have voted for in our family and our bloodline. Not good. Not good. And I guess for many, many years, it has worked out in most predicaments well for individuals who vote a certain party. But this is something different. This is not a regular Democrat, Republican party. This is something different that people have voted for this time around. They didn't know, because I believe it was shielded and hide behind Republican. And there's Republicans now that are speaking up and going against the grain because they're saying, we don't support any of this. We don't rock with any of these things. And you will not throw this on the plate and say that this is what Republicans do. Do I think sometimes, certain things I disagree with and agree with on both sides of the party? Absolutely, I do. Because neither side is 100% correct or perfect when it comes to the things that they're choosing for a mass amount of people. It's very hard to do that. You can't please everyone. You can't make sure everything and everybody is going to be okay. So that's why a lot of times these things run the way they do. And then they also sprinkle in a bit of the F shit, in my personal opinion. But come on now. You are sitting up here saying that time after time and election after election, y'all always vote this way and you always get the short end of the stick. Maybe it's time to change the way that you vote. But I do understand. Like I said, this is not no regular Republican Party. This is a different type of party right here. This is a different type of group. Okay? And so was they, thinking, oh, this is regular, and then find out, no, it's not. They don't move and they don't operate the way you thought they would. And so now y'all out back. I don't know. But we all out back, to be honest. It don't matter whether you vote Democrat or Republican. We all out back right now. Okay, so we need to be important. We need to think about what's important when it comes to our basic and human rights and needs. Is that so hard for people to understand? Like, I don't understand why people don't care more. I don't. Because they will not care until you're met at your doorstep or your doctor's office or your social security office, and now your funds and your insurance and your rights and your safety is being affected. It does not bother you until it comes to your doorstep specifically. But if it's happening and it's going on, we see it happening going on in the grand mass that it is, wouldn't that make you feel some type of way? Like, wouldn't you want to do something or speak up or try to fight against this before it gets to your doorstep? Or are you just going to wait till it gets to your doorstep and then handle it from there? Like, I'm not really sure, like, what we're thinking as a people when it's coming to a lot of this stuff. Because it just seems like people don't care if it's not affecting them right now, today. They just turn a blind eye to it. They think like, oh, okay, well, that's them over there. Oh, that's happening to their city. Oh, that's happening to their state. Until it comes to yours and your doorstep. And then what do you do? I'm sorry. I will get off of the podium, for real. But I'm not understanding why people don't care more about this stuff and the severity of it all. But anyway, let's keep going. It gets worse.
Electric bills keep climbing while their elected officials greenlight these massive AI data centers without any local input. These facilities require staggering amounts of power and water, and under Trump, the strategy has been to just accelerate data center expansion while simultaneously taking a sledgehammer to clean energy projects. That combination, growing demand and shrinking supply, pushes the costs directly onto consumers. Utilities are racing to build expensive new infrastructure, from nuclear projects to new transmission lines, and they're passing all those costs on through higher monthly bills to the people. Communities are pushing back, though. In Arizona and Indiana, citizen pressure forced Amazon and Google to abandon data center plans. Great job speaking out. In Georgia, voters flipped long-held Republican utility seats because they connected the dots between politics, climate policy, and their skyrocketing bills. But here's the main point. This issue is about to define national politics. Electricity is becoming the new price of eggs, if you will. And if leaders, regardless of political party, don't confront the impact of climate change, corporate subsidies, and unchecked AI expansion on household energy costs, this problem will only get worse. This is a crisis that is hiding in plain sight. We all see it with our own eyes, and it demands far more attention right now. So do this for me quickly. Let me know your thoughts on AI data centers, on the climate, on your electricity bills, and so on below. And let's continue to make noise. Okay, Ben?
We're Phoenix Energy, a family.
All right, so we're getting ready to move on. Ben has a few more things that he will be talking about with us on this live. But can I ask anybody out there, if you're listening, I don't care where you're at in the bus, sure, wherever you can be, do you think we're not having issues with climate change? Are you not seeing a difference in your electric bill when you get it every month? Like, just be real about the things that are happening and going on and what you're experiencing, like he said, with your own two eyes. And as you live and as you move, like, you know that something's not right. The weather ain't been right for a minute now. And just for anybody who didn't know, when we talk about climate, it's your weather, right? We don't even have 4 seasons anymore in most areas. We used to have, remember, summer, spring, fall or autumn or winter. We don't even have 4 seasons anymore in some areas. So you don't think these things are going on? And then you ask the reason why. And when people tell you, do you not care? Do you not believe them? Well, then there's that. Anyway, let's keep going.
So that's what was going on. I'm just so you see as well, though, you have some pretty decent state senators there in Indiana. Like here you have Indiana State Senator Greg Walker, and he was talking about all the threats and intimidation that he received. You had so many state senators get death threats as a result of Donald Trump's behavior before the vote took place. That's what Trump tried to pressure them over and over again, and these state senators did not bend. So here you have Indiana State Senator Greg Walker. He was crying and he goes, how would I be able to look my daughter or granddaughter in the eyes if I back down to Trump's threats and intimidation? This is how serious the threat campaign launched by Donald Trump was before this. Let's play this clip.
I held a small baby last night. I think she's about 5, 6 months old now. And her mother had her in her arms and she was asleep, and she's gorgeous, the baby, I mean. And she said, can I give you a hug? And I said, no, I want the baby. And I said, would you give her to me? And I've held her before. And she said, yeah, hold her. And I began to cry as I thought about the future for that child, where we accept that intimidation is normal. Our rules can't even address it appropriately. But I think you understand the analogy I drew. And I shall refuse the offer for the sake of that child and the future of the state. And you're thinking, oh, it's easy. You already said you're not coming back. You can't be primaried. Well, some little seed in the back of my head says, go ahead and file. I think it'd be the dumbest thing I ever did in my life, but that's what my wife thought when I ran 20 years ago. This is the stupidest thing you've ever done. And you're going to destroy her family. And I said, oh, it'll be okay. She went and talked to me for 2 weeks. She became one of my greatest supporters. Because she said, there's no reason you should be up there. I can't understand it. The political path that you took does not explain how it is you became a senator or how I've held the seat for 20 years. So she says, I know you have a purpose. And I feel like today is that purpose. I may be wrong. All I got to work with is what I can read in the plain English.
And here's another Republican Indiana state senator. Here's what he had to say before the vote. Play this clip.
First of all, let me just ask you plainly, how will you vote on redistricting?
I've already came out last week that I am, in fact, a firm no. I've seen the maps. They were just released yesterday. And it just really further strengthens my opinion that this is really not the best way the state of Indiana needs to go.
What was it that prompted you to sort of stand up, speak out? You've been very vocal about this against the president's push to redistrict.
You know, I think sometimes we confuse campaign rhetoric with the speech you use while you're actually in office. And while you get a little bit looser leash, so to speak, during a campaign season, now is the time to govern. And when it seems quite clear that we're isolating the population by the loose use of a slur, at some point you have to speak out and make sure that that's known.
Now, other things that went down at that disastrous Trump press conference in the Oval Office, Donald Trump said the following about Ukraine. Let's play it.
It doesn't really affect the United States unless it got out of control. You know, a thing like that, as you probably know, because you are a professional, a real professional, which is something I don't say about a lot of other people, but you are a great professional. Things like this end up in third world wars. And I told that the other day. I said, you know, everybody keeps playing games like this. You'll end up in a third world war. And we don't want to see that happen.
Donald Trump also claimed that he had the greatest economy in the first term. He said the economy was great. We all remember that great COVID economy, right? How great it was when he mishandled COVID. I'm being sarcastic, of course. And now Donald Trump says this term, the economy is the greatest ever in the history of the.
I'm just asking a question. I know they have a lot of, things or whatnot that they would consider or qualify for us to be deemed to be in a world war. But I want to ask the people outside of what they say, what they try to teach us to be true. If y'all look at our world right now and the things that are happening with the divide and the discord between us and other countries, which could possibly lead into some physical, attacks or whatever. And I know it's like, okay, I talk like this, I say these things, but I'm asking y'all the truth. Do not feel we already in World War III? Anybody who listens to this, I don't care if you're in the bush, I don't care where you at, you listen to it on the replay, tell me, if we're raging war, we've lost allies, other countries don't rock with us, we're going against each other, and it's not even that they want to go against us, they just standing up for themselves because we've raged war against them. We've bullied and harassed them, and they're not going to take it sitting down. So if we have all of this turmoil going on with so many countries, NATO is basically torn apart, wouldn't you not consider that world war? And when we see what's going on in cities and states, especially with ICE, okay, how people are being treated on the streets, at their workplace, at a gas station, at a grocery store, being attacked and brutalized. And yes, I believe a lot of those people understand the assignment. When those people come at you and they treat you like that, you don't allow that. You fight them back. Would that not be considered civil war? So when I said many months ago, when I was listening to many people talking about and predicting what they thought would come with this administration, is that not what we are having and seeing and experiencing right now? And I know a lot of people probably wouldn't know it when they see it, because World War I, World War II, it's not very many people that are still around that can recollect all of the things that transpired and went down during those times, even if they were citizens that served in the service. A lot of these people now are at the ages where they could possibly have Alzheimer's or dementia, something like that. Not all of them, but some of them, most of them, I believe. So they can't recollect what happened during those times and how everything went down and led up to those wars. Those would be the people that you'd be able to talk to that can give you the truth. Now, as far as us reading history books, do you think they're really telling us the true history in these books? We've already had conversations about it. They're trying to keep the real history from us. So we can't feel as though what we read in these books makes us knowledgeable of what it looks like, what it feels like, and how it progresses. But we use our common sense. If multiple countries are all going at each other, and then they say that the United States is the best country in the world, but nobody likes us and don't want to F with us no more. No gotcha. And they might want to fight us because of the things that we have done and we have said to them. Does that not, to you, seem as though we're being led or we're currently in a world war? It looks a lot differently now. And I've said this before, long ago, because we have different levels of technology. Okay? Things don't go the same way that they used to go back in the 1800s. So the way we wage war looks a little bit different. But wars are being waged. And I can tell you, and I live in a city where Air Force Base is at. And I'm telling you, I've heard a lot of commotion and a lot of noise happening within my city. On the base, we can hear that throughout the city. What's going on? They're preparing for something big. I know it. I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. I know what's going on. Whether to defend or, I don't know, to go out and attack. I can't be sure what the orders are. But if y'all don't think that we're not at war, and y'all not paying attention to it, and you don't think this stuff is serious and it can affect our lives in a very extreme way, you better wake up and smell the coffee beans. Because I'm telling you, for real, for real, for real, for real. It's scary, it's spooky. I don't mean to be, the Debbie Downer of the bunch, but I'd rather us be ahead of it and prepared and know what to do when all break loose, instead of just sitting here like ducks and just, you know what I mean? Not expecting or knowing what the heck is coming. We have to pay attention to this and we have to be smart about it. Watch all of these things that have been playing out for like the past few years. Y'all don't see this? We are currently in world war. We are currently in civil war. If y'all don't believe that or see that or know that to be true, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. But pay attention. I don't care what the textbooks say. I don't care what these news stations, these people try to teach us and tell us. I'm telling y'all what I know to be true. If countries are fighting against each other and all twisted up in the mix, don't know who they can trust, who is an ally, who's not, and they damn sure cut us off. World war. We're fighting. We'll get into that. I got more videos to show y'all because it's about to get real bad because of a lot of things that our country and our leadership does to other countries. And you think that people will not retaliate against these things? That is how the wars begin. You can't go over there messing with people, snatching and taking their stuff, messing with them, taking lives of their people, and think that they're not going to do nothing back. They're just going to sit there and take it. That's how these wars begin. I don't care about what y'all saying about these politics and the rules. Does it look like we following any rules, regulations, or laws? Do any of our leadership in this country right now look like they following any rules, regulations, or laws? Do dictators follow any rules, regulations, or laws? What are we talking about? If you can't see it for what it is and where we're headed, that's a scary thing. It's time to open your eyes and see this thing for what it really is and take it seriously. But let's keep going. Y'all will see. I got more to show you.
The world, play this clip.
We had the greatest economy in history in my first term. I think we're blowing it away right now. I think we're blowing it away. And again, prices were the highest they ever were. Inflation was the highest in 48 years, or I think ever. They say 48 years. The press says 48 years. I'll accept that, but I think it was the highest inflation we've ever had.
And then Donald Trump was asked about.
We've got great news for seniors.
Question from Fox by Ducey, who said, so is your campaign against Venezuela actually about drugs, or is it now about oil because you are now saying you're seizing their oil? Like the oil tanker and your people in your regime are saying that that's what you want to do. So what's this really about? Here, play this clip.
With Venezuela, now that we've seized this tanker, is the campaign against Venezuela still just about drugs, or is it now also about oil?
Well, it's about a lot of things, but one of the things it's about is the fact that they've allowed millions of people to come into.
I'm sorry to keep on pausing it, but I'm not dumb or slow. Okay? And so I believe, in my personal opinion, a lot of this stuff has derived from the fact that our country, yes, the one that I was born and raised in, have no choice about that, likes to go out and snatch and steal things from other countries. This is why we have so many third world countries, because of everything that we snatched and stolen from them as far as resources. And when we don't get what we want, this is what they do. They make up narratives and stories and attacks, I believe, against the people of other countries because they're angry and in their feelings. They're having a temper tantrum. So what an excellent question and a new development. So y'all went over there and snatched fuel from them people. Y'all snatching things from their country. But you're going to say your reason for doing that is because you're retaliating against them because they have brought all of these things to our country. Crime, drugs, all of the things. And they're messing our country up so bad. When our own citizens commit crimes and sell drugs and mess up the people in the country. Let's be real. If we're going to call a thing, we're going to call a thing a thing. So what is this really about? What an excellent question to be posed. Why you really was going and targeting them people like that? But now, see how easy this is? Now when they go over there and take some stuff from them, what they can say? They can make any excuse they want. Oh, they was over in our country taking stuff from us. They was over in our country wreaking havoc, taking people's lives, selling drugs, committing crimes. So you go over there and take their resources, but you set this whole story up to pin people against these people, this select group of people from this country. So you can go over there and snatch their resources, which you probably wanted to do a deal with them, and they said no. And you couldn't get what you wanted, so you decided to find a way to go over there and take it and make up some ploy for the people to feel as though it was okay for what you did. Just like they did all of that. I ain't even gonna get into it. Because I get too angry. Why would you call those strikes on those people in those waters? Why? For what? Same excuse, right? Oh, they smuggling in drugs. Oh, they coming, they want to be criminal. Please, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of us that fall for it. I'm sick of it. You got to be smarter than this. Pay attention to what these people do and what they say. Wow. And so shortly after all of this attack and all of this spotlight being put on Venezuelan people for saying that they're in this country illegally and they're wreaking havoc and they're criminals and they're smuggling drugs. Could it be possible that some of them are doing that? Yes. Are all of them doing that? No. Does that give you the right to go over their country and smuggle their shit? No. No, not at all. It's not right and it's not fair. Y'all probably tried to do a trade deal and they said no go because they didn't like the damn price or the percentage. And when someone tells you no, you can't take no for an answer. So you find a way to get it anyway. Nasty work. Nasty work. I don't care what nobody feels or what they think. I got to say it how I feel it. It is what it is. That's my personal opinion. Let's keep going. It gets worse.
our country from their prisons, from gangs, from drug dealers, and from mental institutions, probably proportionately more than anybody else. They came in from many countries. We're getting them out. We had 11,888 murderers come into our country. Many of them are from Venezuela.
And finally, you had Treasury Secretary Bessent, Scott Bessent. He said basically like, and we're, they were there talking about some AI executive order. They're like, and now we will make sure we've got the competitive advantage over China. Dude, Donald Trump just gave the H200 chips to China for nothing. He just gave highly classified United States IP that we all said would cause a national security threat, just gave it to China. But go on, Besson, play this clip.
Scott, please.
Yes, sir. This is pass-fail. As you said, this is the biggest technological innovation in our country's history. We've seen the canals, we've seen the railroads, we've seen the utilities, we've seen the build out of the internet and the fiber, and now it's AI, and it is pass-fail versus China. We have the lead, we've got to maintain it, and it is also going to be the single biggest source of economic growth. But everything else we do, but with our defense, there's no use in having a golden dome if China's AI can get around it. There's no use in spending all this money on defense. And the U.S. will remain the leader in this under President Trump's leadership. He is accelerated the growth.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about that all. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.
If you live in a North Carolina zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, listen carefully. I've been an insurance agent for 30 years, and what I'm about to tell you could save you up to 80% on your auto insurance. Here's what the industry doesn't want you to know. North Carolina drivers pay the most for car insurance out of any state in the country. As we all know from the recent 20
All right, y'all. So that's the end of that video. Y'all can see a few breakdowns of what's going on. That was like a plethora of things that was being talked about in that live. All very important, all things that we need to be paying attention to because they are very serious. And so we're going to go ahead and take a quick little song break. And after we take that song break, we'll get into each individual thing that we did hear a little brief synopsis about within that video. And that way we can hear about these things in more detail in case you didn't know or if you need more understanding about it. A lot of these things I'm learning about myself as well. And so we can learn together. But we'll get into that in just a moment. Let's take a song break and I'll be right back.
The air is thick with whispers, digital ghosts in the machine. They feed us fiction till our vision's blurred, you know the scene. Static on the screen, a 24-hour scream, selling us a fractured dream, tearing at the seams. They got us locked in little boxes, picking sides, while the real tide rises and nobody hides. Yo, podiums are burning, bridges turn to ash and dust. They trading rhetoric like bullets, banking on our lack of trust. Got us debating pronouns while the planet starts to rust. Got us obsessed with power, drowning in our own disgust. Politicians playing chess with pawns that look like you and me, selling off the future for a bump in their damn GDP. And what we talking about, the foolishness, the vanity, fighting over AI songs, the height of our insanity. A fake voice on a fake beat gets more rage and more ink than a real bomb dropping on a city while we blink. They engineered the outrage, designed it to divide, so we never look up from our phones to see the coming tide.
born into this atmospheric hate. Taught to fear they neighbor before they learn to conjugate. Lines drawn in the sand by hands that never touch the soil, while the working class backbone is bent in endless toil. From Ferguson to Palestine, from Kiev to the Sudan. Listen, it's the same damn story, part of the same damn plan. Keep the people fighting over scraps upon the floor, so they never band together and demand a slice of more. They call it patriotism, tradition, call it pride. I call it ancient venom with a modern place to hide. Skin tone is the uniform they gave us for they war, but the soul inside the flesh is what we should be fighting for. And I'm tired, so tired of singing this eulogy. Oh, can you hear the war drums pounding out a rhythm, Lord? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror whispering a different name. I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are. That we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places. What if we looked each other in the eye, past the melanin, past the zip codes and the bank accounts they fence us in? What if our only currency was empathy and grace? What if we found our real reflection in a stranger's face? This ain't a lyric, it's a lifeline that I'm throwing out. This ain't a song, it's the beginning of a different route. I'm a daughter of a struggle, a mother of a dream, to wash away the blood and poison from this bitter stream. So turn the volume down on all the noise they try to sell, and listen to that quiet voice inside you know so well. World War III is knocking. They're at the door, but it's not nation against nation anymore. It's ignorance against wisdom. It's love against the fear. The real war is right here.
The soaring tensions between the United States and Venezuela. American forces yesterday seized an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast. It's a major escalation in Donald Trump's 4-month campaign to pressure the dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. Today, his government has called the seizure an act of international piracy. Well, let's start then by listening to Trump himself.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so.
And with me now is our regional correspondent, Tim Vickery, who joins us from Rio de Janeiro in neighboring Brazil. Tim, good to talk to you today about all of this. What's your sense as to why we are seeing this significant ramping up of pressure from the White House now?
Well, this has nothing to do with the war on drug trafficking, which has been the justification of the United States for much of this build-up against Venezuela. We can discount that for two reasons. Firstly, the Americans' own drug enforcement agency says that Venezuela is not a major player in the narco traffic industry. And also, President Trump has just issued a pardon to the former president of Honduras, President Hernandez, who was doing a 45-year sentence in the United States for his involvement in a massive cocaine smuggling ring. So this isn't about principle, it's about power. And it's about the pivot of the United States away from a Middle East, Europe approach to a home-based approach, an America's approach. It's just over 200 years since the then President Monroe announced the doctrine that bears his name, which essentially was a message to other powers: Latin America is ours. In 2013, under the Obama administration, the Secretary of State, John Kerry, said that the Monroe Doctrine was dead. It was over. It is now back with an absolute vengeance. And what the United States are trying to do here is counter the rise of China in the region. China is a major trade partner, an increasing trade partner of many of these Latin American countries. So with this America's first approach, this Monroe Doctrine approach, what the states are seeking to do is limit the influence of China and also limit the access of China to Latin American raw materials, especially pertinent in oil-rich Venezuela, where it seems the priority of the Trump administration is regime change. Military intervention, I think, would be a last resort. The first resort would be some kind of oil blockade, and maybe we're seeing the first steps towards that.
All right, so possible regime change, you say. You are in neighboring Brazil. Give us a sense how the government there, and perhaps also governments elsewhere in Latin America, are viewing what we're seeing in Venezuela.
Well, the regional response is fragmented. Now, this is part of a historical pattern of disunity in Latin America. So often, historically, the countries exporters of raw materials, they had trade deals with the outside world, but not trade deals with each other. And so there is clearly the possibility here for the United States to play divide and rule. And here in Brazil, Trump's recent attempts to interfere in domestic Brazilian politics so far have proved unsuccessful. Argentina, though, a very, very different story. The administration of President Milei there would probably have collapsed, may well have collapsed without US support. So in an age where multilateralism is on the way down, and might is right is on the way up, it would seem that it will be relatively easy for the US to play power games, picking off the South American nations politically one at a time.
All right, Tim Vick.
Well, did y'all hear that? Okay, these are people who study these type of things and pay attention to them on a regular basis. And this is basically what they're saying is going on. You know, and it's very, like, a lot of stuff is common knowledge, it's common sense, okay? You know that this country has something that's of value, right? And you know that if you take it, it's going to make things difficult for that country to be able to do business or partnership with other countries, especially at the large amount that you took. And you already know that you can't do business with them because you're dragging these people for filth every time we turn around. You're talking about how terrible these people are, what they're coming to our country and doing. It's not to say that some may not be up to no good, but it is not the entire country and it's not the entire people. But when you talk about people who have pride in their people, they're not going to allow you to talk about them like that and drag them for filth like that. And they're not going to want to do business deals with you. So what do you have to do? Sneak in like a crook in the middle of the night and steal their resources. Because you know you want them. You know you need them because you're greedy. And so you do that. You know that that's just going to make them even angrier, right? I hope you would know that. But also, you know that probably will mess up some business deals for them that they probably have set up in the future. So their country can be okay, can be stable, you know, bring in the money that they need to bring into the country to help the people within that country. Okay. It's based off of using resources that they have to make things better for the people in that country. And you want to take that from them. What nasty word. And so we pay attention to how these things go and we compare it to how, you know, shoot, you see how things move in the streets, the hoods, whatever. It's basically the same thing, you know? And this is what it's all chalked up to now. But this is our government, right? But it's not surprising. It's surprising to some of us because this is our first time probably paying attention to it. But from the very jump, when it first started, they've always moved and operate like this. We just didn't know because we wasn't paying attention to it or we was too young, right, to understand what was going on. But now that we're old enough to understand what's going on and we're paying attention to these things. Wow. Meanwhile, painting the narrative in a story that your reason for doing this is justified because these people were smuggling Uggs into our country and taking people's lives. As if we don't do that in this country. We don't have other partnerships in this country that do those things. Like, y'all gonna stop lying and playing in our face like we stupid. I'm sorry, because I'm not dumb. And I'm not about to sit up here and be quiet and act like I'm dumb. I know what y'all do. And I know how y'all do it. I just happen to be born here. That's it. But I don't care. I really don't. Because right is right and wrong is wrong. And a lot of things that's happening and going on right now within our government, our political sector, it's very much wrong. And if anybody can't see that, they don't want to speak up and talk about it and bring it to the forefront, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I guess you just want to be in the dark for the rest of your life. Wake up, pay attention, and smell the damn coffee beans. Because something in the milk ain't clean. These people are not moving and operating in a way that's noble, in a way that should be saluted. People should not say the national anthem anymore. That is my personal opinion. For what? The land of the free and the home of the brave? Show me a brave person and tell me how free we are. That's what I want to know. Until I find that out, I don't think nobody should be singing that song. But that's my personal opinion.
There in Rio de Janeiro. Really good to talk to you about all of this.
He was fired just 3 weeks before he was set to retire.
And now he's becoming an industry.
In a major escalation, U.S. troops seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela a day after U.S. fighter jets flew over the Gulf of Venezuela, the closest the U.S. has come to the country's airspace. Attorney General Pam Bondi released video showing U.S. forces rappelling from helicopters and pointing weapons at sailors. Bondi claimed the tanker had been used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. President Trump confirmed the raid while speaking with reporters at the White House.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. Well, what happens to the oil on that ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman, just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it's going?
Follow it, get a helicopter, follow the tanker.
Is it sure it's going to
But we're gonna, I assume we're gonna keep the
The Venezuelan government denounced the action, calling it blatant theft and an act of international piracy. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro spoke in Caracas Wednesday.
Anyone who wants Venezuelan oil must respect the law, the Constitution, and national sovereignty, and get down to producing, invest, and sell our oil. Venezuela, an oil colony, never again. Neither a colony nor slaves.
He also started singing, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." The U.S. seizure of the oil tanker comes as the Pentagon ramps up its military buildup in the Caribbean ahead of possible strikes on Venezuela. Since September, the U.S. has carried out more than 20 deadly strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific, though they've never offered evidence. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to the right-wing Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. On Tuesday night, hundreds of protesters marched in Oslo to condemn the selection of Machado, who supported Trump's threats against the Venezuelan government. In October, she dedicated the Peace Prize to President Trump. Machado did not attend the prize ceremony on Wednesday, but later appeared in Oslo waving to supporters from the balcony of her hotel. She spoke at the Norwegian parliament today. CNN reports the United States gave her support to travel to Oslo from Venezuela, where she'd been in hiding. She apparently flew from Bangor, Maine to Oslo.
We're joined by Alejandro Velasco, associate professor at New York University, where he's a historian of modern Latin America. Velasco is a former executive director of NACLA Report on the Americas and the author of Barrio Rising, Urban Popular Politics and the Making of Modern Venezuela. He was born and raised in Venezuela. Welcome back to the show, Alejandro. So if you could comment on these latest developments, the U.S. Coming the closest it has to invading Venezuela's airspace, and then also Machado receiving the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, no, for sure. But on the one hand, you have to think of it as an escalation on two fronts. The most apparent front, of course, is the military escalation, even though they're calling it a legal maneuver, more of a high sea stakes kind of operation. In fact, the United States has amassed the greatest number of troops in the 21st century in the Caribbean. And so this absolutely escalates this kind of war of chicken with the Venezuelan government. But it's also, in some ways, an escalation of illegality. The United States has in the past seized Venezuelan assets and now controls millions of Venezuelan Citgo assets that is essentially kidnapped for ransom in the United States. The UK has also held Venezuelan gold in the wake of 2019's crisis that saw Juan Guaido become sort of interim president, self-proclaimed. And so that kind of escalation is very significant and worrisome. It's been interesting that the Venezuelan government's reaction has been really disciplined. They've not fallen into the trap of trying to be goaded into some kind of, response that would surely bring greater military action on the part of the United States. Now, on the other hand, of course, you have the Maria Corina Machado ceremony. She had said that she would not leave Venezuela until the final battle is won. And so now the question is, will she be able to return, or will she run the fate of many Venezuelan politicians in the opposition who've lived out their promise in exile?
But was she under a travel ban? She'd apparently not seen her own children. Her daughter received the prize in her stead. She had not seen the kids for a year or possibly two. What kind of ban was she under?
So the Venezuelan government had an arrest warrant on her. And so they had alleged that she had violated campaign laws, political actions as well. And so certainly she was under hiding. And of course, her concern was if she was going to be detained, then she might suffer the consequences of torture or other kinds of violations. But of course, her profile is so significant, it's so high profile that it's also somewhat far-fetched to imagine that the Venezuelan government would in fact detain her, rather than in fact see what she's doing now, which is to leave.
Let me play Maria Corina Machado speaking at the Norwegian parliament today.
I am very hopeful Venezuela will be free, and we will turn a country into a beacon of hope, an opportunity of democracy, and we will welcome not only the Venezuelans that have been forced to flee, but citizens from all over the world that will find a refuge as Venezuela used to be decades ago.
On Tuesday night, hundreds of protesters marched in Oslo to condemn the selection of Machado for the Nobel Peace Prize because she supported Trump's threats against Venezuela. In October, she dedicated the Peace Prize to Trump. This is Lena Alvarez of the Norwegian Solidarity Committee for Latin America in Oslo.
Estamos aquí en una demostración.
We are here at a demonstration organized together with a broad alliance of Norwegian solidarity and peace organizations, where we are highlighting that the Nobel Prize is being used to legitimize military intervention. This year's Nobel Prize winner has not distanced herself from the interventions and the attacks we are seeing in the Caribbean. And we are stating that this clearly breaks with Alfred Nobel's will.
So, Professor Velasco, if you can comment on this, and then talk about this tanker. President Trump boasted it's the largest tanker ever seized.
Yeah, it's hard to parse the Nobel Prize Committee's selection and then how they have proceeded over the last few weeks since the announcement. The history of the Nobel Prize being awarded to politicians and opposition politicians is, let's just say, not a very storied one. More recently, of course, you have Barack Obama, who had been awarded the prize, and before that, Aung San Suu Kyi, the Burmese politician. And at the time, they said that these were more aspirational awards for hopefully what would come if they, in fact, reached the kind of power that they wanted. But in both of those cases, of course, we did not see peace. We saw, in the case of, unfortunately, of Obama, war, and of Aung San Suu Kyi, an authoritarian turn. So part of the question here is, why would the Nobel Prize Committee take another chance on an opposition politician who has been so vocal in requesting and demanding an armed intervention of her country? Even, of course, as on the other hand, she would say, like, well, we want peace and we want democracy. This is what the Norwegians, the prime minister conversation was like. So that's on the one hand. What is going on with the Norwegians who have in the past tried to broker some kind of negotiation with the Venezuelan government? But in terms, of course, of the oil question, it's a kind of a two-handed approach. You have this seeming carrot of, well, we seek peace and bringing the Norwegians along. But on the other hand, we're seizing ships. We are launching military aircraft, fighter jets, right literally off the coast of Venezuela, all in an effort to try to goad the Venezuelan government to a kind of misstep that would then justify some military intervention.
But what do we know about this ship? The U.S. officials, of course, say the ship had been previously linked to the smuggling of Iranian oil. The final destination of the ship was indeed Asia. Can you talk about the claim that the Venezuelan state-owned oil company, PDVSA, is part of a global black market network?
So Venezuela's oil, and PDVSA in particular, has been sanctioned since the first Trump administration. And those, as we call sectoral sanctions, are part of a maximum pressure campaign on the part of the U.S. to try to force the Venezuelan government out of power. They, of course, withstood that pressure. But it does mean that Venezuelan oil and Venezuelan oil interests and assets abroad, as well as domestically, are under threat. The paradox here is that Venezuela continues to sell oil to the United States. So on the one hand, we have the seizure of a tanker, and then other tankers that are just finding their way to the United States by way of licenses to be sold in the U.S. market. And so, part of this is this larger narrative of Venezuelan narco-terrorism and this axis between Iran and Venezuela and Cuba. But on the other hand, you have the continuation of politics as normal. So it's hard, extremely difficult to parse what the actual intentions are.
So let's talk about Venezuela having the world's largest oil reserves. It's under threat from the United States, and followed by Colombia. On Wednesday, President Trump threatened Colombian President Petro.
Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up, or he'll be next. He'll be next too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next.
I hope he's listening, he says about Petro. He is going to be next. He also brought in narco trafficking. It's important to note that in this past week, he pardoned a major narco trafficker, right? The former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was sentenced in a U.S. court to 45 years in prison, served about a year of that, accused of bringing in, using all the levers of the Honduran state, military, police, helping to facilitate 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. So talk about Colombia. And
I mean, Colombia has been nothing if not a stable partner for the United States in terms of drug interdiction. It continues to be a major oil drug producer and exporter, although Ecuador has now become far more. And of course, Ecuador has a friendly ally to the Trump administration as president currently, and so they're not talking about Ecuador. But what this demonstrates is that it's certainly on the part of Trump, but also on the part of Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and others in the U.S. government. Venezuela is not the only target. It's other Latin American governments, and questions about narcoterrorism are really subterfuge claims, in fact, to get rid of leftist governments in the region. Right? This is what we see with Colombia. We've seen other threats to Mexico as well, which has a leftist government as well. So this has a lot to do with ideology, despite the claims that it's impact about drugs.
before you go, I wanted to ask you about what is a national story, but also has international significance. This Miami mayoral race, Florida voters electing a Democratic mayor and the first woman, for the first time, a Democratic mayor in 30 years. In a stunning upset, the former county commissioner, Eileen Higgins, received about 59% of the vote, defeating the Cuban-born Republican Emilio Gonzalez, who'd been endorsed by Trump. How does this relate to what we're seeing now? Trump reportedly has been extremely affected by these two races this week. One was her upset victory, and another, a smaller race in Georgia, in a Trump region. State legislator, Democrat, won this time around. But what about Miami?
It's massive, and especially in the worldview of Trump and his ties to Florida in particular, but his sense that Florida was now in the bag for Trump, and this tremendous upset, and it wasn't even close, right? And we're talking massive, margin, suggests that perhaps the message, the bellicose message that the Cuban American community, most of the Cuban American community in South Florida,
bring up Rubio in this, the Secretary of State, and his role and what's happening, Cuban American from Miami.
Yes. This sort of staid Cold War era discourse being brought up again, what it suggests is that it's perhaps run a bit of its course, and the interests of people in Miami, as elsewhere in the country, especially Republican voters, is much more fixated on what are you doing for me here at home? Why are we worrying about interventions abroad? What are you doing for us here at home? And this is a tremendous warning, I think, to the Trump administration, Trump in particular, that the focus has to shift to domestic interests, especially around the economy, rather than these war games with tremendously high stakes in the Caribbean.
Well, we want to thank you, Alejandro Velasco, for joining us, Associate Professor at New York University, historian of modern Latin America, former executive editor of NACLA Report on the Americas, author of Barrio Rising, Urban Popular Politics, and the Making of Modern Venezuela.
All right, y'all. So that was just a little bit more of a additional details and conversation from actual, professionals that are literally telling you what is playing out before our eyes and what we're seeing as far as this, connection and connectivity between Venezuela, United States, Venezuelan represent, the United States represent, all of the things of that nature, y'all. There are games being played. There are, I believe, individuals that are making deals with each other, okay? And it doesn't represent the entire country. It doesn't represent all of the people. What that represents and boils down to is those individuals. And are there individuals that commit crimes and smuggle Uggs? Yes, there are, but they're everywhere, okay? And a lot of them, look, let's be clear. We know what goes on here in our country, okay? So what we're talking about is being human, okay? We are seeing that there is a lack of care and there is a lack of sensitivity towards human beings and human life. That is the problem for me. This is what I'm saying. If people are doing things or committing crimes, use the judicial system the way it's supposed to be, which these people set it up so we can't be sure, right? How it's really supposed to work. But if you say it's supposed to be this noble thing, the judicial system and clauses and all of these things, do it lawfully, do it legally, right? Through these systems and things of that nature. Not on no Rambo gun-hole style. That's not how things are supposed to be done. If anybody else does it like that, it's an issue. When we do it like that, oh, it's not supposed to be one. It's not fair, and it's not right. Fair is fair. What's right is right is right. What's wrong is wrong is wrong. I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand or wrap their mind around. A lot of the stuff that's being done is not right. It's not humane, and it's not legal. That is the issue that I think people are having. People don't feel like, oh, just let criminals go and do what they're going to do. Harm doers go and do what they're going to do. We don't mind. It's okay with us. That's not what we're saying. And a lot of people, if we're watching, because y'all know I've done some videos and supplies on this, some of these ICE raids, these individuals are not criminals. These individuals are not smuggling thugs. They're being hemmed up, abused, tossed down to the ground, attacked for no reason based off of only the precedents that they looked the part. That's racial profiling. Are we saying that this is okay? Are we going to watch this continue to play out and feel nothing about it? That is my question. I don't know how y'all feel, but I know how I feel. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that I see with my own two eyes and I listen to with my own two ears, it's not right. It should not be done. And I don't care if it's coming from a country that I reside in. I don't care about that. It's not right. God don't want that. And y'all know that I believe in God. Yes. And whoever it is you believe in respectfully, you know, that is okay over here. But I'm telling you, no. We're not supposed to move and operate like this. We should not be just turning a blind eye to when things like this happen and think that it's okay and just chop it up as business as usual. It should not be business as usual. It's not right. On either side, whoever's doing the hurting and the harming, on either side. To be very clear. But anyway, let's take a little quick song break, and then we'll get into the next video, y'all. I'm sorry, I get very emotional about these type of things because I don't like it. I don't like it not one bit. And it just puzzles me why other people are okay with it. Let's go.
Righteous wage to earn. These are the needs, the bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screaming and selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator is where we all belong. We are human, with more beyond the hate purpose and the loaded dice. We're human, worth more than they can prize. Beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. vivid and real. Teaching our children how they ought to feel. That values in the label on your shoes. Oh, the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow, and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Yo, check the vision, the mission of the television. Spitting division, a mental prison. Got you chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than the sword. So we teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, it's where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. Human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. We will build a world where every voice is heard and valued. Yeah. And truth is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word. A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease. This ain't just a track, this a call to action. For every mother, father, every single fraction of the community holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter. Tell them their spirit's something that no lie can shatter. Tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest we gonna grow in this field. Yeah! Yes, we are. Teach the children, near and far. Let them know their sacred work. Fight for every single soul on this a right to live, a gift to get.
To welcome in Brian Kessens, Senior Portfolio Manager at Tortoise Capital. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, really, what is your outlook right now on the energy landscape and how AI, of course, is playing into that narrative?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here today. As it relates to AI specifically, it shapes up a large part of our outlook as it relates to energy for 2026. We go back just last year alone as it relates to electricity load growth. We were just like half of 1% on a year-over-year basis. But going forward, that half of 1% is moving to roughly 3.5%, not only for 2026, but we expect that to be sustained really through the end of the decade. And the data center build out as it relates to AI has a lot to do with that. The chips from NVIDIA and others are very power hungry, and obviously everyone is anxious to just make more and more use of AI and its many applications. I will say though that the load growth and that is not only dependent really upon the data center build out, but we're seeing increased onshoring of manufacturing activity as well. And then the broader trend that we also continue is that as it relates to heating applications for homes and businesses and other commercial places, and as it relates to cars, that is shifting as well from fossil fuels more historically toward electricity.
Brian, thanks for joining us. This next gen investing, we're oftentimes talking technology and the build outs of these things, but that's become hand in hand with energy. I'm curious, as a portfolio manager who's primarily focused on that sector, the energy sector, how much your job has changed in the last couple of years as this new catalyst of new technology that's emerging completely flipped everything on its head, changed the demand dynamics dramatically. What kind of information are you following now to get to these estimates? I'm sure it looks way different than it did just a few years ago.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think to some extent we've all become technology investors are certainly interested in the takeaways that the hyperscalers are providing on their earnings calls. And the thing that we are listening to now are the announcements from the Alphabets or the Googles of the world and the Metas about how they do CapEx and what is the pace of their overall AI build out. Because of the pace of that build out drives the demand for chips, and the demand for chips or the use of the chips dramatically is changing the landscape as it relates to power specifically. If I just go back a couple years ago, oil was really the main event as it related to being an energy investor. And it continues to still be a big driver, but power and power prices and the need for an incremental build out of power, where's that power going to come from? Is it going to come from more renewables, nuclear, natural gas? All of those are things that, for the most part, were pretty flat and a little bit boring a few years ago, but are very exciting as we sit here today.
Okay, so right now, production growth remaining relatively low, and also oil prices expected to average between $60 and $70 a barrel. I mean, what does this mean now for the global supply chain dynamics, frankly, because so much of our supply chain is tied to everything energy?
Yeah, as it relates to overall oil prices, we think that is a price where kind of everyone wins. The producers across the globe win for between $60 and $70 per barrel. They're making adequate returns of 15 to 20% or even plus, depending on the location. And certainly the consumer is paying certainly something less than $4, depending on the geography per gallon at the pump. It's not overly.
Okay, y'all. So I'm just asking for a friend or anybody who may be out there listening. When we hear now that we've moved into this additional topic, y'all, because we're talking about, the energy, okay? We're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. We're talking about oils. We're talking about energy. That's what we've moved on to now. But is it me, or when I listen to this, does it kind of seem a little odd, or maybe just like a coincidence, that crude oils are being snatched up and stolen from certain countries? And we're a country who is now trying to utilize and does utilize a lot of advanced technology and energy zaps. Like, do y'all understand what I'm saying when it comes to that? Think about the energy that we use when it comes to AI technology, right? Think about the partnerships that have been previously in place with our current president. He had one of the biggest people that creates electric vehicles and robots and other things of that nature. Talking about Elon Musk. Yes, I am. And so when we're talking about these things, a lot of people think, oh, it's a magic show. It's a magic trick. Look, there's an electric car. It doesn't need gas. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No, it doesn't work like that. Okay? When we're talking about these type of things, there is a cost. There is a fee for things to be this technological. Okay? When we're talking about artificial technologies and other aspects like these robots of nature, yeah, there is a cost for that. And a lot of that is energy. Every time, ask anybody who has a Tesla, you got to charge your car. These are cars you drive around that you got to charge like a cell phone. We have cell phones that we have to charge. A lot of things, smart homes, they need to be charged up. How do you think they're getting charged? You need these crude oils to be broken down into processing system that creates the energy for this type of electricity to be directed to these electronic devices. It comes from somewhere. A lot of people think it's magic because, oh, we just plug our chargers into the wall and boom, now our cell phone's charged. Where does that energy come from? Where does that energy derive from? What is at the foundation of the energy? Crude oils. So, to me, when I'm hearing things like this simultaneously, okay, this is what's happening with, the growing energy deficit. They need energy more and more and more now. Wouldn't it make sense that they go into foreign countries and steal crude oils and things of that nature? Because we need the energy to keep these technologies and AI functionable devices abroad or afoot. I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm stupid. Y'all let me know. But do one and one not make two? Like, we got to pay attention to what's going on here and why. So now they kind of all tie in together a little bit. Isn't this maybe why they're going out their ways? And if they cannot get the deals by doing, clean business, they need it regardless. It's like a junkie that needs a fix. They're going to find it some way, somehow. Take it, steal it, whatever. Rob people, hurt people. They don't care, So, excuse my language when I'm saying something. But this is just my correlation of the two. So you need these things. You couldn't do a clean business deal because look what you said about these people. Look what you said about these people's countries. And you think they're just going to willy-nilly let you come in there and do business with them? Some people do have integrity, despite the money. They just don't like being talked about and treated like filth. So now they probably don't want to work with you and do business with you. So what you do? Go in there and snatch it and steal it. You can't make this stuff up. I can't be sure. That's allegedly. That's my personal opinion. But I just put two and two together. Like, what is all of this for? What do we make any sense of it? How do y'all make sense of these things that's going on? Y'all let me know. Do it make sense to you? Does it add up to you? Are you able to put two and two together? That's what it seemed like to me. Let's keep going.
Inflationary, that's kind of the sweet spot where we think everyone wins. And we do think that the beginning of the year, you're probably closer to that $60 per barrel for oil, gradually moving up to $70 per barrel as, for the most part, production growth is flat next year. But we do think that demand globally continues to increase by a little over 1 million barrels per day.
Brian, energy is a unique space, whether it's, nuclear, coal, oil, whatever the source. It doesn't seem like we ever need less of it. And so it's always trying to figure out just how much is it going to grow and where is it going to grow. As you watch the AI stuff continue to advance, I'm sure it'll get more efficient. What are you looking for a sign that maybe some of that growth will slow down?
We are not seeing that whatsoever, that the growth in overall energy demand is going to slow down. Some things that could result in a slowing of it is just increased efficiency as it relates to the potential chips, though we're not seeing that. And if you do see the increased efficiencies, we're expecting demand for that to even go higher. But those are the things to look for. And frankly, that's the reason that electricity demand has been relatively flat over the past couple decades, because demand has generally risen. Those devices have continued to get just more and more efficient, which is great. But going forward, we're seeing a kind of a bigger step change in the overall amount of energy demand that we are using. And to your other point, it does seem like we just continue to use more and more of every source, if you will. If you go back a couple hundred years, we were primarily using wood for heating. And well, certainly that's not the primary source today. We're actually using more wood today for heating than we ever have before. That just seems to be the case with whatever energy commodity we find.
And it's an exciting time to be, involved in the energy world, but also exciting to see the grid, I'm sure, just continue to transform before our very eyes as this is happening. A very quick shift is happening, as we've all sort of discussed, but appreciate it, and really great insight into a critical space for the overall markets. Brian Kessens, Senior Portfolio Manager at Tortoise Capital.
All right, y'all. So again, like I said, my personal opinion, not saying that I'm right or have, any insight on this, but I just try to put two and two together. Some things kind of start to make sense to me. I don't know what y'all think. But anyway, yeah. So we're talking about, all of these things that's happening and how they kind of connect to each other. So now let's get into, and this is the last video, y'all, and we'll be done after this. We're going to talk a bit about gerrymandering. I don't know if a lot of people know what gerrymandering is, but there's a lot of it going on, okay? So we're gonna get into that so y'all can learn a bit about it if you don't know. If you already know, it will also give us the updates on how certain states and cities have been in their elections have been gerrymandered. So we're getting into that now. Let me go ahead and put that up for y'all. After this, of course, we will end with a song or a bop, and we'll be done with the live because we are reaching the 2-hour mark. So we got to wrap this up real quick, y'all. This is not a long video at all. It's very, very short. But I'm going to go ahead and play this for y'all real quick, and then we're going to get up out of here. Thank you so much for staying through the whole live. I really appreciate it. And y'all let me know. And y'all can let me know in the comment section or whatnot, or in Mama's comment section, what y'all think about some of these topics we talked about on this live this evening. How do you feel about it? I will be really open to know. All right, here we go. So let's talk about some gerrymandering. So as y'all know, when it comes to the state of Indiana, they said no. They denied the mapping. When it comes to the mapping, that ties into the gerrymandering, right? Because now with the votes, it's like they basically splitting it down the middle. You're on this side, your vote goes to this side. If you're on that side, your vote goes to this side. So they try to, divide the lands as they've always done so they can rig the votes and where the votes go to. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what the gerrymandering is. But, they take it to the highest esteem. But let's go ahead and listen to this from the professionals, and then we'll get out of here in just a minute.
This is obviously affecting how many seats Republicans get, how many seats Democrats get, but it's also affecting the makeup of the voters who are electing these lawmakers. We've seen, because of closed primaries and the turnout, the more extreme candidates are the ones that get elected. And it has made the politics of the House more extreme, more divided, less willing to compromise. Is there a solution for that without the Supreme Court or somebody else stepping in to outlaw partisan gerrymandering like this?
Yes, I think that's exactly right. 37 of 435 districts in this country were competitive back in 2024 within 5 percentage points. That is the kind of numbers you might expect in a country that does not hold itself up as a democracy. I think we have to be looking at really serious structural fixes if we want to change this. I think a more proportional House is really the way to go. The Fair Representation Act that Representatives Jamie Raskin and Don Beyer have proposed that would draw multi-member districts that can't be gerrymandered, turn every district in this country into a swing state, really, I think, is the kind of thing that solves gerrymandering, that prevents politicians from drawing districts and district lines from determining winners and losers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I must tell you that as you spoke, my little pen got to going, as well as a couple of other people up here, because
Indiana, where Republicans.
We're glad you're with us. I'm Ben Bradley.
And I'm Lourdes Duarte. We begin the 4 o'clock news here with some breaking news from Indiana, where Republicans in the state Senate have rejected a high-stakes, high-pressure campaign from President Trump to change their electoral maps to give their party an edge. Republicans already dominate politics in the Hoosier state. The proposed map rejected by the state Senate moments ago would have given the GOP an advantage in all 9 districts in the state. Republicans who voiced opposition to the plan have been the victims of bomb threats and other vitriol directed their way. Lawmakers, though, taking the crucial vote just within the last hour.
WGN's Julian Cruz is following the story from Hammond.
The passionate debate in Indianapolis finally drawing to a close within the last half hour. The redistricting proposal shot down by a 19-31 vote.
When people vote, they have a right for their voices to be heard. They deserve faith in the system, faith in us.
My opposition to mid-cycle gerrymandering is not in contrast with my conservative principles. My opposition is driven by them.
The question of legality is settled. We have the constitutional right, and I would argue the moral obligation, to draw the districts that reflect the political will and the value of the people who elected us.
I'm thankful to the senators who are seeing it for what it is, the power grab.
Lake County, Indiana Democratic Party Chairman and County Commissioner Mike Repay weighing in on this historic moment as Indiana state senators hash it out in the state capitol. Repay arguing that the proposed gerrymander doesn't make sense, especially for the close to 900,000 people living in Northwest Indiana. We talked to many local residents to get their take on what's happening. We'll have more coming up later. In Northwest Indiana, Julian Cruz, WGN News.
All right, Julian.
Mr. President, in Indiana, just a few moments ago, the Senate there rejected the congressional maps to redistrict in that state. A number of Republicans voted against that redistricting effort. You have spent a lot of time talking about this. The Vice President traveled to Indiana. What's your reaction?
Well, we won every other state. That's the only state. It's funny because I won Indiana all 3 times by a landslide. And I wasn't working on it very hard. Would have been nice. I think we would have picked up 2 seats if we did that. You had one gentleman, the head of the Senate, I guess, Bray, whatever his name is. I heard he was against it. He'll probably lose his next primary, whenever that is. I hope he does, but because he's done a tremendous disservice. I mean, think of it. It's a great place. I love the people there. They love me. You know, we won in a landslide all 3 times. Got tremendous votes. I got record votes. And then there's no reason for doing that. And the Democrats do it to us, so I can't imagine that they do it. But I wasn't very much involved. But there's a man named Bray, as I guess, head of the Senate. Was that Bray? Is that the name, Bray? I mean, I'm sure that whenever his primary is, it's I think in 2 years. But I'm sure he'll go down. He'll go down. I'll certainly support anybody that wants to go against him.
Show your daughter how much you love her with this beautiful gift. It says, "To my
AI Dog completely eliminates the need for a real pet, and nobody believes.
Breaking news. Despite Donald Trump's threats, the Indiana State Senate has rejected the Trump-backed gerrymandered map, leaving the existing map in place. You know, Donald Trump's been threatening all of those state senators in Indiana if they voted against him. Then you had the Heritage Foundation's Political Action Committee. They've been posting, you know, we're going to go after you in Indiana. We're going to make you suffer. And, and then Don Jr. posted, but we just learned in the past 30 seconds, we could report this major breaking news. Indiana State Senate has rejected the Trump-backed map. Cohen, what's your reaction to that?
You know, not surprised, to be honest. I think everybody right now
is concerned about this entire gerrymander. You do it when you're required to, which I believe is every 10 years, but these mid-term gerrymanders, especially the one that I found to be the most the most grotesque was the one in Texas, where they actually came out and they said, yeah, we gerrymandered based upon race, absolutely, and yet they still approved it. You know, it's very hard for me, you know, to understand that sort of ideology, that sort of belief system where you're actually looking to limit an individual's right in terms of electing their official based upon the color of your skin or based upon your, you know, your ethnic origin. I just find, I really always believed that America was traveling in the right direction, on the right road. And we have now, over the course of the last, I would say, 7 years, we have absolutely 100% made a U-turn. And we're flying down the highway, literally going the opposite direction.
You know what?
Thank goodness for you know, for other states holding it. Thank goodness, you know, that we were successful in terms of California, who did it right, despite the fact, you know, I think a lot of the nonsensical back and forth with the trolling by even Governor Newsom. I think it's funny as hell, and I think whoever's doing it for him are clever. But I don't think it helps our cause at all. You know, these sort of things, they just don't do. They don't, yeah, we get a good giggle from it, but this isn't what's going to get us what we need in 2026. And I want to say one more thing about that. If we are successful, like we were just yesterday in Miami, Florida, we have all the momentum now. Don't distract us with stupidity like putting Trump and everybody else in a bunch of orange jumpsuits. That's great during a campaign for him. Look at these numbers right here. Eileen Higgins beat the living piss out of Emilio Gonzalez, right? Or 60 to 40. 60 to 40, the first time in 30 years that a Democrat has held the seat of Miami. And why? Because it's all about affordability. It's all about ICE. It's all about these failed programs that are constantly being put out there by people like Russell Vought or Stephen Miller, or the lies that are coming out of this administration. Trust me when I tell you, this is what we should all be talking about. How we stay active, how we stay informed, how we keep our foot on the gas and keep just steamrolling them in just about every election that's going on right now.
You know, it wasn't just in Miami, right? You had in Georgia a special election for House District 121, where the Democratic candidate Eric Gissler defeated the MAGA candidate Dutch Guess IV. The Democratic candidate won by 2 points. Cohen, in 2024, Gissler, the Democratic candidate, ran and lost by like 40 points in 2024, and then ran again and won by 2 points 1 year later in that same district. Also, that, just to be clear with people, that's a state house district. That's not Congress. I don't want people to get confused. That's the Georgia state representative. But that area was gerrymandered as well. And lots of people are referring to what Trump is doing as a dummy mander, which is one of the reasons it was rejected in Indiana. A dummy mander is kind of like when you have a dummy United States attorney like Lindsey Halligan who doesn't secure these indictments when you can indict a ham sandwich. But in a gerrymandering sense, you know, Trump is basing these gerrymanders on a data set from 2024 when Trump basically defrauded the Hispanic population and young people into believing that he was going to make things affordable on day one and make them rich. But now that we've seen massive shifts among both those cohorts, young people and Latino people, and even other groups as well, but you're seeing big shifts there, 40-point shifts. So when you do a gerrymander these ways and you want to get rid of a Democratic seat, what you ultimately have to do is dilute some safe Republican seats to try to turn the Democratic seat into a red seat. So let's just say that there's a House seat that's a plus 22 Trump seat, and you have a blue Democratic seat that's like a plus 5 Democratic seat. You may have to bring down that plus 22 to say a plus 16, and then try to get yourself a seat there in the newly created district that was a plus 5 Democrat. But in doing that, that plus 5 plus 6, based on the current results, that likely turns Democratic anyway. And now that you've brought down a plus 22 to a plus 16, that's within the margin of what we're seeing the overperformance numbers be for Democrats. So now you may have actually given Democrats 2 seats right there. And that's why in a lot of these states, they're saying, whoa, 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 should we be doing it? And to your point, Cohen, what Governor Newsom did in California was so important because it trained these MAGAs to know, okay, Indiana, you do that, guess who's going to do it? Virginia's going to do it.
But the difference, though, is Newsom actually did it by law, whereas Texas did not. They didn't run a proposition to ask people, which is completely and totally different. But here's the interesting thing also that I want everybody to get behind and understand. Texas went ahead and gerrymandered with the expectation, based upon AI polling data from Trump's 2026 campaign, that if they gerrymander, move this block here, or create that one gigantic district that's over 500 miles long, that we will be able to control the votes and the seats. Well, again, what did yesterday's Miami mayor's race show? What did New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Minnesota, and so what have they now shown? No, that's wrong. In fact, people are concerned when you have a billionaire president turn around and say things like, you don't need to buy your kids gift, or maybe, at most buy them $2, not. That's easy coming from a guy who couldn't tell you what the cost of a gallon of milk is. All right. That's not what the American people want to hear from their leader. And I'm going to be very clear. I wouldn't be surprised, not in the slightest, if many of those gerrymandered districts in Texas end up flipping, because here's the thing that you can't bullshit people on: how bad it hurts in their pocket, or what they're unable to pay for their children. They can't get them new shoes, new pants. They can't get them a new winter jacket. They can't send them to school with money, or they can't let the kid go on a school trip because they don't have the extra money within which to pay. People don't forget that crap. And I'm telling you, when you're dealing with a state like Texas, and there's a lot of poverty in Texas, there's a lot of money there too, but there's a lot of areas that are poor. And let me be very clear. When you're hurting, who are you blaming? You ain't going to blame Joe Biden for this. Nobody's buying that shit from Trump anymore. All right. They're turning around and they're saying, it's that guy right there.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Roundtable.
All right, y'all. So that was a great video and conversation of a bit more of a detailed breakdown, and more specific breakdown of what the gerrymandering is and how it works and it operates. Y'all know I'm gonna give my little ghetto version of it, because I just simplified things down to where people I feel like can understand and see what's going on. But I always will bring y'all the real. We can always discuss the real terminologies. And y'all know that I'm going to bring people to you that will have conversations and break down what certain things mean, how they work, and how they go, that are professionals. I think that, that's the best thing to do. Do not take my word for anything, and don't listen to my little, breakdown of things like that as law or fact. You listen to the people who work in these places and spaces that are professionals, and listen to how they discuss it and how they break it down. And so, yeah, I could go into a little bit more about the gerrymandering for you all, but I think they broke it down pretty well for you to be able to understand what is going on, and that is currently in the state of Indiana. Child, people are stepping up and speaking out, and they are fighting back and pushing back. And one of the things that I love to see, and I'm glad that we're seeing more of, is people standing up, speaking out, and pushing back. Because with a lot of these things that are being done and how they're trying to treat us as people, we deserve better than that, and we do not need to just lay down and take it. And so, y'all know I'm the rebel type. I'm willing to fight back and get on the front lines. Let's do it. But I don't incite violence or anything negative like that. I'm just saying, when you have education, you know better, you do better, you know something ain't right. You got to speak up on that. You got to tell people, like, no, that's not right. You're not going to do that to us. It's not fair. We refuse. You are able to do that. It's part of your rights, and it is actually in our Constitution. But we have individuals that are in place that don't want to respect that said Constitution, the amendments, and the rights of the people. And this is why we're having a lot of issues that we are having these issues within the governmental and political sector right now, especially in the United States. And so I come to bring some of these stories, sometimes 3 or 4 at a time, to show to you guys so y'all can see what is actually going on, not just here in the United States, but sometimes worldwide. And it is against the people's rights. It's against the people's needs. And these are the things I think we need to be paying attention to. These are the things I think we need to be pouring our energy into, because these are the things that's going to affect the outcomes of our lives, our day-to-day lives, how we live, how comfortably we live, how safe we live, all of those things like that. That is what's important. We need to pay attention to that. And right now, it is a rat race. It is a crazy mess. And we got to be aware of what's going on, y'all. Let's pay attention to it. I know it's not fun, and I know sometimes it can be a little bit depressing and boring. I get it, but it's important. Anyway, y'all, that is all I got for this live here. I will be back on the next one to talk about probably a few more topics about politics. And don't worry, because I do have a plan to get back to doing some content on my channel, child, if I can keep it. That's fun, like trivia nights and game nights and karaoke and all these things. I'm just trying to find a way to do it to where I'm not breaking any laws or guidelines or anything like that. But I want to do fun things like that. I don't want everything to be just so buttoned up and political and gloom and, you know, all of that. Y'all know I like to have fun and have a good time. I want to do that on my channel. So I'm going to try. I'm working on finding a way to do that and bring that back into the mix. And hopefully people will join me on that. We can have fun together as well. Because just as much as going on that's stressful in this world, we have to decompress. And we have to have places and spaces and outlets where we can go to just have a good time and let our hair down. You know what I mean? And just kick back and have a good night. But I do think this is important. I do think we need to learn about it. We need to know what's going on so we can prepare, so we can be, you know, not in the dark when all of these things, you know, start affecting us or come crashing down. Because it can and it will. You know, it's very serious. So that's just why I do it. And I've taken a liking to it, not because it's entertaining, but it's necessary. It's like an educational class that, like, you almost have to participate in. But anyway, y'all, that's all I got on this one. I hope you liked the live. I hope you enjoyed some of it. Well, not enjoyed, but I hope y'all was able to get something from the live, some maybe information maybe you didn't know, or some information. If you need to check me and let me know, like, oh, you wasn't right about this, please let me know. I am very much open to constructive criticism and correction. I never want to promote, you know, false information or things that's not real or right on this channel. But sometimes I may get it wrong, and sometimes I speak from my personal feelings and emotions, which doesn't make things factual. It's just how I feel. So I typically like to say that prior and after and during saying these things. This is my personal opinion and feelings, okay? But I will bring individuals to you to this platform that you can also look at in your own accord in your own time that do, you know, this for a career and a profession, and they always get it right. So that's all I got, y'all. Like I said, I'm gonna end it with a bop, and I'll talk to y'all on the next live. Thank you very much for listening, whether you was in the bush or not. It doesn't matter. I appreciate all of the support. I hope everybody has a good rest of the evening. The weekend is upon us, y'all. Go out, have some fun, live your life. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
They drag us from the coast. Middle passage madness, where we lost the most. Packed in hoes like cargo, spirits in a cage. Built a brand new nation, lived a life of rage. Yeah, we were the property, the 3/5 compromise. Picked the cotton, built the White House with our hands inside. And they watered all the poplar trees with our blood and cries. Yeah, you know what they were for beneath the southern skies. That strange fruit hanging message of their hate. A simple wrong look was enough to seal your fate. To my brown kin, they just stole it, called it manifest. Killed the Aztecs, stole the planes, put them to the west. The good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They wanna push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back, not going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. Let's talk about a word. Say your word. Let's talk about a word. See how it sticks. 6 letters, COLORED to politics. Not a person, just a label, just a shade on a chart. A legal way to tear a whole damn race apart. Colored water fountain, colored waiting room, colored entrance round the back, a social living tomb. Jim Crow was the law, man. Segregation was the tool. Taught a child to hate his own skin before he went to school. And it ain't just here, that's the global view. Apartheid, colonization, yeah, they did it there too. That word was a weapon, a boot on the neck to say you live, you die, you move at our check. They want the good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They want to push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back. 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 Don't you dare say it's repeating. It never stops. They just got new suits, new slogans, new cops. They ban the books that tell the truth of Act 1. They call a protest riot soon as the marching's done. They tell us get over it, it wasn't us. While they build the same systems of them and us. Gerrymander the district, choke the money from the school. Praise the good old days while they fill the modern jails. This is the warning, this is the last stand. We learned your lessons, now we understand. We are the children of the ones you couldn't break. We are the dream that you could never ever take. We are the fire you tried to douse with ice. We paid the cost, we ain't gon' pay it twice. You want us back in chains, you want us on our knees. We'd rather die right here standing on our feet. This ain't a threat, this is a promise we fulfill. We ain't ever going back. Oh, yeah. It must be you start to say we ain't going back. We'll fight you tooth and nail. We ain't going back.
Yeah. You tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queen, H 2.0.
let's get it. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear. Yo, welcome to the queendom. H2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. So if you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must. This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up of the scene, spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load, from social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought. Oh, so come with your respect and see the real effect, cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been Don't make me unleash the dragon, you've been warned. Yeah. Don't make me unleash the dragon, you've been warned. Yeah. Yeah. Golden Queen Age 2.0. The movement starts now. Go ahead. Hit subscribe, ring that notification bell. You don't want to miss a thing. Welcome to the family.